We're here at the San Diego IRS Tax Forums, the last one of the season. It's been a wonderful ride so far. It's been a great shows. I'm joined today by Edward Killen, TEGE Commissioner of the IRS. Now, first of all, we know SBSE, we know LB&I, we know W&I. We love our acronyms of the IRS. TEGE, tax exempt government entities. Can you tell us a little bit about, first I'd like to tell us a little about yourself, and then I'd like to know about the TEG.
Absolutely, Alan. Well, it's my pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. My pleasure to be here at this wonderful event that we're having here in San Diego. It's great to see so many tax practitioners who are taking advantage of an opportunity for continuing education and for engagement with IRS and also with each other as well. So I just want to acknowledge just a tremendous event that's present here. With respect to myself, so I am from tax exempting government entities. I've been in the Internal Revenue Service over 20 years now. I had the opportunity to do many jobs in IRS, which I think has given me a great appreciation for the diversity of the work that we do, the diversity of the taxpayers that we interact with and that we serve, and a fair appreciation for the issues that they confront. And so when we have an opportunity to come together in a forum like this, I think it's tremendous because it allows us to address many of the issues that may be of top of mind for the practitioners who are so vital to our system of tax administration. In TEGE, I have the unique privilege to lead an organization that is responsible for tax administration as relates to the exempt sector. And people may wonder, well, what is the exempt sector? That is the constellation of entities that are exempt from taxation for various reasons, which is an extraordinarily important and rare privilege in our system of tax administration. So you would think in terms of organizations like charities, churches, schools, hospitals, social clubs. And those would be exempt organizations, entities exempt under 501c of the Internal Revenue Code. We also have responsibility for qualified retirement plans. A qualified plan is a plan that is exempt from taxation, whether it be a defined benefit plan, a defined contribution plan. We approve all of those out of TEGE within IRS. We also work with over 570 federally recognized Indian tribes. These are sovereign governments, and we have a government-to-government relationship between the Internal Revenue Service and those tribal entities. And so they would be a very, very important component of the exempt sector. We also have responsibility for ensuring that employment tax responsibilities of federal, state, and local governments are adhered to. And so we are the only organization within IRS that has that responsibility to ensure tax compliance of governmental entities, whether they be federal, state, or local. And then finally, within the scope of TEGE would be tax exempt or tax advantage bonds. You could think of tax exempt bonds as being facilitators of municipal finance. So when there are things like capital improvements that need to happen within local communities, whether it be school bond referendums or whether it be expanding capital infrastructure like airports or sports stadiums, many of these are things that are in part funded by tax exempt bonds. And so together, the constellation of all of those different components of the sector comprise what we do in tax exempting government entities or TEG within IRS.
Nobody, this is so much information for me to handle right now. I never really understood the full scope of what this is all about.
Yes, TEG is a very broad organization. Obviously, I think a great many people, when they think about the work that we do in TEG, they think primarily about exempt organizations, 501c entities, and that certainly is an incredibly important component of the work that we do. But it is only part of the work that we do because we do so much more there. And we have, a tremendous team of professionals working hard day in and day out to try to ensure that we do our part to maintain the integrity of the tax exempt sector.
Great, great. Now we're talking about the tax exempt sector, and some people know and some people don't that there's energy credits available that may or not be able to be used by the person or the business that's actually doing the work, but they're able to sell these credits off or gift them or whatever that might be. How does that involve TEG?
TG is definitely involved in that. Under the Inflation Reduction Act, which was passed in 2022, one of the unique components of that act is that there are credits available for exempt sector entities to avail themselves upon. To be able to come in and take and claim a credit for various projects that they may have undertaken in pursuit of clean energy. And so upon the passage of that act, we had a lot of work to do within IRS, and TEG was certainly a part of that to allow taxpayers to be able to take advantage of those credits. So one of the unique aspects of these credits is that we have a registration process for the entities to come in and pre-register with us in advance of their actual filing. For the exempt sector taxpayers, the mechanism that they utilize to come in and claim that credit after they have registered with us is typically a 990T and also general business credit. And so they will come in and they will file those claims for their credits with us. And I think if I could give one message there, it is just to continue to try to educate the exempt sector population of the availability of these credits, because interestingly, many of the exempt sector entities are not necessarily this credit is not necessarily on the top of their mind, because these entities typically do not have a filing requirement with us. And so the Inflation Reduction Act specifically allowed exempt entities to be able to come in because they don't normally owe income tax. So they don't normally have a filing requirement with us. And so the statute allows, for example, governmental entities, local municipalities to be able to come in and specifically file with us, even though they do not have a filing requirement. And so this is a tremendous credit that represents a tremendous opportunity for exempt organizations of all types to be able to come in. And we want to make sure that they are aware that this is available to them.
Great, great. Now, we mentioned IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, and a big part of IRA was a nice little increase, not nearly as much as the IRS needs, in my opinion. Because I work on both sides. I work with the IRS all the time, so I don't think there's ever enough in that sense. But I believe a lot of the money is going for hiring. Is TEG hiring? And if so, would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Inflation Reduction Act. So a moment ago, I was just talking about the tax provisions associated with the Inflation Reduction Act. A significant component for us in IRS of the Inflation Reduction Act also involves allocation of funding above and beyond our normal appropriation to allow us to make advances in service for taxpayers and modernization efforts that are so critical for us to be a modernized tax agency to facilitate interactions with us in a manner that taxpayers have come to expect, because it's the manner in which they interact with their own financial institutions. It has also allowed us to make inroads in pursuing issues of noncompliance, substantive issues of noncompliance that we have not been able to address over the last 10 to 12 years. The common denominator around all three of those things is that we cannot do any of that if we do not have talented professionals. And so the Inflation Reduction Act has afforded us the opportunity to hire positions across the country where we have critical needs that impact taxpayers day in and day out, such as people to answer the phone, such as people to provide access in our tax assistance centers, such as people who are critically important in allowing us to take the steps to modernize ourselves. within TEGE, we are certainly part of all of those efforts. And so the Inflation Reduction Act funding has allowed us to go and hire talented professionals that we need in order to service and assist exempt organizations and inform them of what their opportunities are under things like the Inflation Reduction Act and elected payment that comes with that. It allows us to address compliance in the exempt sector, which is critically important because, as I said, it's an extraordinary privilege to be tax exempt in our system of taxation. And so we have the responsibility to make sure that entities that are tax exempt are actually playing by the rules and are doing the things that they need to do. So the hiring allows us to make sure that we have the people who can help address all of those issues.
Great. Now, this has been a fabulous conversation. I do appreciate it, but I want to give you an opportunity to close with anything else you'd like to share with us today.
Sure. I would just say that the work that we do in the Internal Revenue Service on behalf of our taxpayers is critically important. It's critically important to the taxpayers that we serve. It's critically important to the tax practitioners representing their clients. But I would also like for people to know that it is critically important to the people within the Internal Revenue Service. The people within the Internal Revenue Service are government employees, public servants who come to work day in and day out to do their best on behalf of America's taxpayers. And so the Inflation Reduction Act allows us to be better equipped to do the work that we aspire to do. And so that would be sort of the parting message that I'd like to let people know. We are an organization of people who are very committed to doing the work that we have been entrusted to do.
Edward, thank you so much for your time today. I do appreciate all your input, all you've done for the IRS over the years, and looking forward to hearing more about this coming forward.
Thank you so much.
you.